everything seems to be working. Is it? Yeah, it looks like it. Guess I could make this a touch smaller. Doesn't really make much of a difference. Well, benchmark. I do have Vantage. Goody. No, let's make it public then. How do I get a link to this? Oh, that works, I guess. Please no explode. I don't think it'll explode. I'd actually like to do Vantage since we're on the 7950X, but I'm not sure if the cooler being upside down is gonna last for the duration of Vantage. Like, I'm thinking like GT2 might end up thermal throttling. We'll start with Fire Strike and then like try Vantage later, depending on how it handles in Fire Strike. I guess I should just make this bigger at this point. Oh boy, there's too much stuff on screen. Typical problems for my, like, I guess I'll just, like, well, you don't really need to see the trace in my opinion. I mean, I don't usually look at the trace, I just look at the minimum readout. We're just gonna start completely stock, because I want to see what kind of temperatures it runs at. And I think actually the first thing I'm going to be doing is lowering the core voltage. Because my past experiences with Maxwell is that, like, 1.28 volts is probably too damn high. Since there's 7900 XT dies on it. But what would you want the BIOS flash to enable? More cores? I'd imagine those are lasered off, and you can't enable more memory controller, because, like, it's literally not connected, so, you know. And I could move this here. Make this bigger. It doesn't really help. I guess I should just lop off the bottom end of the oscilloscope. That's too much. That's perfect. Now I can make this bigger. And, like, actually legible. There is a little bit of Vdroop on the core voltage right now, so that's why, like, at idle it's at 1.28, and then under load it's 1.26. Managed to score a 780 Ti Classy for 50 quid. Nice. R9 Furies are kind of annoying to mess with. Okay, let's see what the temperatures ended up at. So hotspot ended up at 60, so actually it's not really running that hot, but I still want to try it first at like low voltage and then work up from there. Also, what was the clock? This card runs at 1400 stock. Like, I don't have any other GTX 970s. At least not working ones. And like, if this is normal, like GTX 970s run at 1400 core stock, then like all of the like it's been my firm belief that most Maxwell owners never bothered to check what the stock core clock is, and that's why they got really excited when the card hits 1500. So as far as I know, they're supposed to run at 1200, not 1400 out of the box. Anyway, let's drop it to 1.2. Okay, that worked. We're gonna reset the monitoring again. $2100 mem? That's, in my experience, that's just a matter of setting the memory voltage high enough for Samsung memory chips. What's the goal? I don't know, whatever the card does. Kinda wish the cooling situation was better, because then we could just, like, loop Firestrike GT1. Actually, we could try that anyway. Because we could just window Firestrike GT1, run it on loop, and then just do all of the overclocking with, like, the card actually under load to save some time. Any weird issues with the HDV? When throwing in secondary RAM timings, regresses, no. Regresses performance in what? IDA? Or like some other test? Have you ever had any experiences with G-Skill RMA? No. Wait, did the score just get worse? On its own? Yeah, we might, you know what, I might set it up to only run the 2 graphics tests. There's no point running the physics test. I think the score just got worse from lowering the core voltage, which would not be the first, like, not super surprising for an Nvidia card, but, like, annoying. Vega does the same thing. Like, if you have a Vega GPU and you have voltage control on it, like, proper voltage control, then, like, changing the voltage will actually change the clocks. Like, not even through the driver, like, if you're using an external tool to change the core voltage, it'll actually change the performance without even touching the core clock. So that's a 12052. I should... No, yeah. I'll get a notepad open so that I can write down results. So that's 1.213. Oh, I don't know what the current, like, stock Vdroop is, but, like, 100%. I don't feel like writing all of that down. Okay, we're gonna try, I think, 1.24. And see if that does anything. FurX Phantom throttling with an EVC2? I think if you skewed the current sensing, it might fix it. And you should be able to do that with the EVC2. Like, you should be able to set the current sense to divide by 2, and that'll make the card underreport power, like the VRM underreport power consumption by 50%, which I think might fix it. I kind of also want to try the card with 0 Vdroop. What I find really interesting is that before I added the forward voltage sense, this card didn't have any coil whine, and now it has coil whine. Huh, so that made the score go up. Alright, so I'm gonna try 1.244, but with 0% droop. So that's gonna disable the Vdroop. Where is it? This. Yeah, we're gonna set that. Doesn't really look like it did anything at idle, but... Anyway, to get EVC working on the Fury, the bus is so busy. Oh, the monitoring? No, but you can just, like... Because I had the same issue, I think, with Vega, but you could just, like, send commands. Like, you couldn't run monitoring or anything. You had to, like, manually write the, like, what register you want to hit with what value, and you could... And, like, you could get that through. But any, like, the default functionality was basically unusable. I have a video showing that for a Vega. Like, getting voltage control through the EVC on a Vega. What's interesting is the peak-to-peak hasn't really changed that much, and also we're still not getting... like, the load voltage is still, like, lower than idle, I think? Well, we'll see. That could also just be due to how the oscilloscope is connected. And cheap X570 Steel Legend, I have no thoughts on it, really. I don't remember anything about that board off the top of my head. Okay, I'm gonna say that's margin of error. That didn't seemingly help at all. But it also doesn't seem to have made anything worse, so I guess we're gonna try 1.275. It's kind of funny is like how the whole time the card keeps reporting the same core clock, and yet the score is like changing with the voltage. That's why clock speed readouts in software are useless. Instinct MI50 has a better VRM? Really? I kinda doubt that. Though I've never seen the PCB for it. That looks exactly the same as a Radeon 7. Oh wait, no, it's different. Wait. Huh, so it really does just seemingly scale with core voltage, which is just... freaking Nvidia cards, man. Oh boy, okay, well, I guess we can try 1.3 volts then. That's the next logical step. Is it called gamer load line? Cause the entire, like... There's like a bunch of overclocking features built into the voltage controller, and they're just called gamer mode. I feel like there's some frame skipping looking at the oscilloscope trace. Actually, no, it might just be some frames. It kind of looks like it's skipping frames. Oh, well, I guess we'll see from the score. If it is frame skipping, then the score will go down. Okay, actually I don't think it's frame skipping because the voltage was low. And the score went up again. I mean, very, like, basically margin of error in my opinion, but, like, if it was actually, like, the thing is, like, it could have also gone down, right? If it was that margin of error, so I guess, yeah, it went up again. I'm gonna turn the the Vdroop back on, and see what that does. This is so different from the GTX 960. Then again, that 960 is on its own vCore VRM still, so, like, I don't know. Like, maybe running with an E-Power, like, drastically changes things for some reason. Not sure why it would change anything. Okay, that made the score worse. And the thing is, we have actual, like, load line settings in milliohms. I don't know what it is right now. Oh, we also have switching frequency, which I also don't know what it is right now. Actually, I kind of wish I had a temperature readout for the VRM, because there isn't a heatsink on it. Do you plan on posting scores to HardwareBot? Depends if I get good scores or not. I kind of want to try the, like, really low load line resistance. And, like, we're gonna set this back to 100, and... What? Did that not work? I guess we'll check if it made a difference. Do you think of a 3700X doing 4.4 at 1.298? That's a good 3700X. The VRM is at 40 degrees Celsius. Yeah, it turns out having some airflow over an 8-phase is more than enough. I also kind of suspect that the giant, like, ground connections I made on the back of the board are acting like a heatsink. Because it's a lot of metal. That's actually one thing I wondered about, is, like, couldn't you just, like, couldn't you literally just make a heatsink directly out of the ground planes of the, like, around the VRM? Just, like, if you just soldered, like, copper plates to that, bam, heatsink, built directly into the board. Don't even need a thermal pad anymore. Is the power readout? No, that's whole system. Okay, so that, for what... I think it might have, the software might have bugged out. Also, wait, okay, I'm gonna probably have to reopen the EVC2 software. It has been awfully, like, buggy with this card for some reason. 8318. Well, find devices. Yeah, okay. I found the device. Add. Read all. Yeah, and it just doesn't like. I tried to populate the stuff and it just doesn't work. Like, monitoring doesn't work. Nothing works. Oh well. So we're gonna go to that 1.30% configuration again, see what happens. According to AMD software, it's only bronze sample. Wait, what are you checking the stability with? But even if you're just running Cinebench at 4.4, that's like still pretty damn good. And Blender render. Okay, yeah, that's like in my book that's still a really strong 3700X. My potato CPU doesn't go above like 4.2 before I degraded it. But, like, I had an early launch 3700X, so of course it sucked massively. Thing I'm wondering about is, like, once I start manually raising the core clock, like, there might be a reason to lower the core voltage rather than just run it as high as it goes. But yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, so the card does consistently run better with just, like, heaps and heaps of core voltage, which is fun. I guess we're gonna try 1.325. So weird, though, the GTX 960... Well, the thing is, I didn't test, like, the GTX 960 at, like, stock and just raising the core voltage. Like, I first maxed that card out and then tried raising the core voltage, and that just made the stability worse. And even if I, like, reduced the clocks, the score didn't, like, it didn't score better, so... We might find that, like, when I try to bring the core clock back up, it actually prefers lower voltages, which... Yeah, we'll see, I guess. At least on this card, I don't have to adjust the core voltage with a potentiometer, because that, like, doing this kind of, like, fine-tuning with a potentiometer sucks. Very badly. Just, like, it's tedious to do. Uh, 1.45 volts is normal for Zen 2 CPUs and Zen 3 CPUs for low core, like low load scenarios. Actually, I think even Zen 4 still goes all the way up to like 1.45. What do I think about the Intel stability issues? Well, evidently Intel was wrong about their guess that if they just raise the core voltage, every CPU will do 6 gigahertz. It turns out you can't just turn a 13900K into a 14900K by lowering your quality assurance standards. Okay, so now the core doesn't, like, now the score doesn't seem to be going up anymore. Also, our temperatures are, like, really high. Still reporting 1404, though. I'm gonna put it back down to 1.3. And, start actually overclocking. Instead of just letting the card run what I'm assuming is stock. Never know. Well, previously it did at least like plus... Okay, you know what? We're gonna start with like plus 50 first. Because, like, I never ran the card... Actually, I'm not running that much voltage, so yeah, we'll see, I guess. At least according to the scope, I'm not running that much voltage. Yeah, the VRM is still at 46 degrees Celsius. I was kind of wondering if like if a 780 Ti VRM would be like sufficient, but evidently it's massive overkill. So it does help that there's like a lot of airflow washing off of the heatsink. Why not water cool it? What, the card? Because water cooling is a pain. It takes up a bunch of space on the desk, and like if I had a bunch of quick disconnect fittings, sure, but I don't. Okay, so that went up a bit, and that was just solid 1454 throughout the entire test. So let's try plus 100. Or like almost 100. Card pulls like 250 watts? I don't know what the card pulls. Oh, this thing disconnected. I need to get some better connectors. I have the same problem with the EVC2 that like there's blue tack holding the connectors in place because they have a tendency to just slip off the pins. Trying to actually think what would be a good connector. Because I don't want it to be bulky. I guess just some tighter fitting, like sockets, I guess. What driver version are you using? Something relatively recent, I think. Actually, will the Nvidia control panel tell us? Oh, 546. Yeah, it will. Okay, let's try plus 110. Because I am... Yeah, so we're at 1502 right now. I am kind of suspicious, like, this is... I think it's not gonna be, like, stable. Because we're running, like, a lot of voltage, I think. Right, is even the oscilloscope probe loose, or... Might be. There's such a mess of wires on my desk, because there's, like, the oscilloscope hookup, the EVC hookup, the... Actually, that's kind of it. Oh, right, also mouse, keyboard wires. It's awful. GPU core voltage, here, but there's like some measurement error in that, so the average voltage is probably lower than it really is. Oh, and the memory voltage just dropped out again. Yay! I guess I could take a quick multimeter check to see how far off the oscilloscope is right now. A VRAM repair video? No, and I won't. Yeah. Because, like, I can do, like, as of recently, I am able to, like, fix memory chips, as in, like, swap them and stuff, but, I am not good at it. We are thermal throttling? I think? I might have been running the benchmark back-to-back too quickly, because the heatsink takes, like, because it's upside down, it, like, dries out eventually. And then it takes a month to recover. Okay, the oscilloscope is like way, way off on the core voltage. It's reading like 20 millivolts low for the average. Because, yeah, I just checked with the multimeter and it's 1.29 volts behind the core. Oh well, doesn't really matter. Let's try plus 134. So has the heatsink recovered yet? Okay, I think it should be recovered by now. Have you ever tried upgrading a card with more memory chip? No. Because it takes me forever to do even one memory chip currently. Because I don't have them, I'm not very quick at getting them reballed, so it just takes me forever. So doing, 8 memory chips or something is, not fun. I usually do, the most I've done on one card is 2. I really wonder why the oscilloscope measurement is so far off, though. It's not usually this inaccurate. Actually, okay, I don't think letting it cool down for longer really helped because the max temp is still the same, but this time it didn't thermal throttle and we're running 1538. You think a dual board e-power for GPUs with dual-sided VRM is feasible? You need, as long as you, like, you're gonna need some kind of ribbon, or, well, you're gonna need some kind of connector to feed the PWM signal from the, like, PWM and the current sensing signals from one end to the other end. That's the main concern. Is the blue 7 segment the memory voltage? Yep, yes it is. And it's upside down, so that's 1.59 volts. Also, it's not super accurate. If, like, you tap on it, it might change the voltage reading a bit, but... Like, earlier in the stream, it was reading 1.61 and 1.6, and... Yeah, the connection's a bit loose, but I just needed to have some vague idea of what the voltage is. It's not supposed to be super accurate. I'm more annoyed about the oscilloscope being, like, off by 20 millivolts. Okay, we're gonna try 1 plus 146. Should be like 1550 on the core. GDDR6 memory. I think it depends on the card to some extent. But I think generally it's like Samsung that is best. Wait, no, I think for 7900 XTXs it might actually be the Hynix that seems to be clocking highest, but for like Nvidia cards it's usually Samsung, so... yeah, it depends. Also, I've been wondering if like somebody in chat is like a bot or not, and at this point I'm just gonna fucking ban them. Wait, where's the ban button? Why? There's a put user in timeout, but I don't want to put them in timeout. I want them gone. I want them removed from the website. Wait, I guess hide user on this channel does that? Yep, looks like it. I was like wondering, are they stupid? Are they a bot? And at this point, it's like, you know what? I'm just gonna fucking ban them. Are they somebody's badly cooked AI project? Well, it runs 1550, which is the highest I've ever seen this card go. And so that's good. Let's try more. Like, it wasn't, I don't think, it wasn't even really artifacting. I was paying too much attention to like, banning people. So let's try plus 158. You know what's going to be really fun is as soon as I touch that memory clock slider, that core clock is not going to... We're going to have to drop the core clock. I think we're going to max both individually and then try to put them together, so I, like, know, you know, what the upper limits are for each. I don't think it was a bot. Yeah, no, it was a bit too stupid for a bot. Bots at least try to be somewhat coherent. Okay, so it does not run 1560. Yeah, it doesn't run 1562, but maybe if we just give it more voltage, which, like, it's a Maxwell card, so that shouldn't work, but... I'll give it 12 more millivolts. Who knows? Maybe it'll run. I really doubt it, but... worth trying, I guess. Why that motherboard? Because the way the GPU heatsink is attached is it's upside down. It literally will not fit into anything other than an ITX currently. I mean, if I stacked a bunch of PCIe, like if I had a PCIe riser cable, but then like getting at the back of the card is a massive pain in the ass if the card is like laying on its back. So it's like, yeah, this is kind of the most convenient way to run this thing. Well, initially I was going in like 25 millivolt increments, and now we're going in like 12 millivolt increments. Because, like, initially I was just checking if, like, the performance changes by just changing the core voltage, and the answer is yes. Literally, so at 1.21 volts, the card scored, like, 12,052 points. At 1.3 volts, it scored 12,385 points. Without changing the core clock at all. And also, that seemingly might have been more stable, so we're going to try a bit more core voltage again. You know, maybe I'll turn the Vdroop back on. What about like 60% Vdroop? So like still not as much Vdroop as it originally had, but like a little bit Vdroop and like more voltage. I have videos about all of the mods that have been done to the card. What's your favorite GPU architecture to overclock? Man, I like the first gen 28 nanometer stuff. I don't really have a favorite, but like Kepler's fun because it scales a lot. But small Kepler. Big Kepler is weird, but like 770, 680, 670. Those are really fun. Then like I really like 7970s, 7950s, 7870, 7850. 7770 is really weird. Which, depending on it, like, if you want something different, then it's, like, interesting, but weird. Then you have, like, the 7790s are awesome. Hawaii is also fun, but then, like, I don't like Tonga. I don't like basically everything after Hawaii and Bonaire. Like, Bonaire and Hawaii are sort of, like, the last really fun AMD GPUs. Because then it gets weird with, like, the Desperation 28 nanometer silicon. Polaris is fun. And Polaris is probably the last, because Polaris is the most similar in how it behaves to, like, an HD 7970. And also in terms of what you can do. And then everything around that is, like, after that, you just get wackier and progressively more annoying boost algorithms. As well as, like, more and more restrictions on the cards. Which basically has, like, peaked with 7000 series. Like, you basically can't do anything now. And then on the Nvidia side, well, Nvidia cards were always super locked down. Like, I'm not aware of there being any way to modify, like, memory timings on, like, 500 series or something. So, like, the, like, BIOS modding stuff, like, that's not really a thing, in my opinion. Because as far as I know, most of the BIOS modding people did for Nvidia cards was just to get, like, more voltage, which is, like, yeah, but you can just do that in hardware. So, like, I don't know why you'd... Like, well, I get why you would do that in software if you don't want to void your warranty, but, or at least obviously void your warranty, because technically that still voids your warranty, but yeah, it's not like on the AMD GPUs where you can just like, you can mod basically everything in the BIOS for the older cards. Now, I want to try 1550, but with higher voltage, because I'm kind of wondering if, like, we'll see a performance uplift from that. Except I'm going to drop the Vdroop back. I'm going to turn the Vdroop off again, and then we're going to set the core voltage lower again. What's your thoughts on HBM2 versus GDDR6? Don't really have any thoughts on that. Like their memory systems, and like you can strap HBM to a bad core and the performance is going to be bad, or you can strap HBM to a good core and the performance is going to be good, right? And you can put GDDR on a bad core and it's going to be bad, or you can put GDDR on a good core and it's going to be good. Can you mod a GPU to have dual rank memory? No. Because GPUs, like GDDR doesn't do ranks at all. What is up with the bots today? I don't think those are bots. Unfortunately. That's your opinion on the Intel scandal that their CPUs are defective? Well, I don't really have an opinion on it, but like, or well, like they should, like my guess is Intel never actually bothered to test their CPUs with what their motherboard vendors are doing. Because like on one hand, it's really convenient for Intel that the motherboard vendors just ignore the like recommended power limits and Intel gets a few extra points in Cinebench. On the other hand, the fact that these CPUs are like unstable with the power limits removed is like, so hey Intel, did you ever check what happens if you try to run Cinebench on a 14900, like on some random 14900K on like one of your partner's boards after a clear CMOS? Because like on a lot of CPUs, that is just not going to run Cinebench. Like it just isn't going to finish. Which, how did you not test that? Like, if you're not going to enforce any power limits, then, like, you need to at least validate that the CPUs work without power limits. And if you aren't doing that, then you need to enforce the damn power limits. Like, it's really not that, like, complicated, in my opinion. And so I think, because the thing is, like, the Intel CPUs not having power limits, but depending on the motherboard, right? That's been a thing since, like, 4th gen. Right? That's when I think for the first time, like, multi-core enhancement became a thing. I don't even know why they call it multi-core enhancement. That's just stupid. It's just like, we're just changing the freaking power limits. I don't know why it needs a special name. But, anyway, so, like, the whole, like, fiddling with the power limits has been a thing since 4th gen. Some media have, like, brought up the fact that, hey, like, this is a problem because, like, if you take a 9900K and you run it in an Asus motherboard, it gets completely different performance from an MSI motherboard or a Gigabyte motherboard. And if you run it on a garbage motherboard, then it, like, runs at different power limits. And, like, what is the performance of a 9900K? When, you know, Intel won't tell you what the frickin', like, power limit is. And Intel's been just kind of chill with this situation, because it's like, yeah, but we win the benchmarks harder when you put the CPU in a high-end gaming motherboard, and of course all the review kits are based around high-end gaming motherboards, so, you know, it's like free benchmark points. I don't think there was too much thought put into it, though, on Intel's side, where it's like, you know, it's like the CPUs aren't crashing or anything, so we'll just ignore it because it's convenient. And then it's like, and now we have CPUs where they're like binned within, because like on like the 4th gen, 5th gen, 6th gen, 7th gen CPUs, 8th gen, 9th gen, 10th gen. These all had a ton of headroom. Well, okay, not a ton. By 10th gen, the overclocking headroom basically dried up. But they weren't shipping on, like, insanity voltages with insanity frequencies, right? Where the CPU was right within the limits of what the process is capable of doing. And so it didn't really matter that Intel couldn't be bothered to enforce any kind of power limits. And now Intel wants to ship CPUs that are binned as hard as what AMD's been doing since like 3000 series, except Intel still doesn't care to enforce any power limits. And now it doesn't work. And they evidently just didn't bother to check. I'm more concerned about the sort of speculation that the CPUs might be degrading. Because then you're going to have CPUs that, like, you know, 2 years from now, like they're going to fail, like, right outside of warranty. Where it, like, works, and then dead. Yeah, I think is more concerning. Because, like, yeah, and, well, anyway, wait, so is this score better or worse? We'll try just 1.3 again. What's going on with the weird messages in chat? I don't know. I kind of wonder if it's not the same person. Oh yeah, I have 10 tablets, you can't block me. I'm expected to be here for a few hours, so actually I can just keep blocking you. I think it's the same guy. Yeah, I think so too. Unfortunately for him, I'm a big fan of doing repetitive tasks. I think Intel CPU on 10 nanometers is the issue. I mean, it's literally just like Intel not testing their stuff that's the issue. Like, they evidently just winged it with the validation. And then it's like, oh, look, this doesn't actually work in the real world. Maybe you should test your products better. Like, I guess Intel sort of thought, like, well, nobody's actually going to use a 14900K at 100% load because, you know, for years and years and years, it was standard that, like, most software used, like, maybe 4 cores. And so it's like, yeah, the CPU's not going to get hit at 100% load. We don't need to test that. Why would anybody use all 24 cores on their 24-core CPU? People don't do that. And it's like, oh, they actually do. And it doesn't work. Alright, because the thing is... because that's kind of been a thing. I feel like I've seen articles about that with, like, in like, silicon development, where it's like, yeah, well, we'll just design the chip to, like, run faster when it's not at 100% load, and it's like, and then we're gonna assume that it's gonna last the warranty period as long as it's not getting used too hard, and it's just like well, people apparently are using your CPUs a bit more than that you designed them to be used, evidently. So, like, yeah, and what I find really funny is there's an interview with a Intel engineer on Der Bauer's channel about how the, like, 14th, 13th gen CPUs running at 100 degrees is perfectly safe. Evidently, it's very safe. And very stable. Or maybe they did test it, and they just didn't test it for long enough or something, because obviously you use, like, accelerated aging processes, right, where you, like, intentionally test the CPU at, like, even higher temperatures and even higher stress. But then it's like, I don't know, so are they just, like, to me, it just seems like they, they, like, I don't work at Intel, but they evidently failed at, like, validating the chips properly, because, like, the chips are crashing. They might be degrading, which is even more concerning. And didn't they say something against how AMD was doing that with 7000 series? Doing what with 7000 series? Yeah, but AMD's boost algorithm is way more clever than Intel's, and way more locked down, right? Like, AMD actually, like, really, like, has way more control over the stock configuration of their CPUs than Intel does. Okay, so this seems to be scoring about the same, or maybe a little better, so I guess we'll try bring up the memory now. Well, I don't want to do any more videos about Intel stuff. I hate the entire LGA 1700 platform, and I like, don't want to talk about it. Well, you do Arrow Lake content later this year. I don't know. Maybe? Like, I could have actually done all the testing I've done with this card on, like, one of the Intel ITX boards I have, but the thing is, like, I don't want to be on a platform where I can't even clear the CMOS to fix the CPU stability. Because you can. Like, I clear the CMOS on that 14900K and it'll crash Cinebench. It's like, well, maybe you should just get a better 14900K. Yeah, but I could also just, like, use the 7950X instead. That doesn't crash Cinebench after a clear CMOS. Huh. I really thought bringing the memory up would, like, drastically affect the core stability, but it really doesn't seem to have done much. Score's not very high, though. Yeah, the thing is, the top scores for GTX 970s on HardwareBot are like over 14,000 points graphics test. Though, they're probably all running LOD, so... Which I'm not running LOD, because we can still see what the benchmark looks like. But yeah, I'm not thrilled with the score. Currently. Right, because if we look at the rankings, like, I'm running like 1550 on the core, so I'd be like comparable probably to this right here. And this is like 15K. Yeah, okay, that's with LOD. But, like, I don't think LOD is gonna add, like, 1,500 points to my score. So... How many cards have you personally killed? Too many to remember off the top of my head. What memory clock are we at? Okay, that was, I think, a just over 2,000 run. So now we're gonna try plus 639. This should run, since we do actually have more memory voltage than I had in, like, well, before I had the memory volt mod. I'm surprised that the core stability hasn't drastically changed. That's actually kind of nice. Vega FE, yeah, but there was also like a GT 730, an RX 480. I feel like I'm forgetting something. And we're finally starting to see some artifacting. And I'm trying to find the thingy that I can use to turn the potentiometer for the memory voltage. So I have like a really skinny little screwdriver for that, and I don't know where I put it. Oh, right. Imagine that, it's in the box of screwdriver bits, which is where it should be. So this is Samsung memory, and on the GTX 960 it's scaled to like 1.9 volts or something completely stupid like that, so... this actually gains like a lot more from the memory than I thought it would. I mean, we're still way behind that like lauded score that I pulled up earlier, right? Because that was at like 1547 and 2068 on the memory. And so, like, I'm already running higher core and memory clock, and I'm, like, nowhere near that score, but LOD does a lot. No, I'm not sure if it does that much. Oh, well, we can juice the memory voltage. So... I set up the camera so you can just barely see where the potentiometer is. And I didn't bother to, like, write down which direction I'm supposed to turn it to make the voltage go up or down, so... Give me a moment. There we go, that's a sensible voltage for Samsung GDDR5. How well does a Fury X scale with cold? Thing is, they're kind of hard to run on liquid nitrogen, but if you can get them cold enough, I think they go over like 1400 core. I didn't write down which direction that potentiometer is. I think it was down. Yeah, I think it was turning it down to make the voltage go up, because when I wire potentiometers, I don't really think about which direction they have to go in, I just think about where the wires are, like, line up most conveniently. What about chilled water? Should help a decent amount. Like, if you can run 1150, I imagine on chilled water, you could well, the thing is, they already, like, if you're on the stock water cooler, you should be able to run the card at, like, 50-ish. So I guess if you ran the card at, like, 20, it might run, like, 1200 if it normally does 1150, something like that. Score didn't really improve, but we're running like 2092 on the memory now. I guess maybe there's like a timing strap that I went over. It's still running 1550 on the core. Well, now we're at 2100 on the memory. Is worse. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm guessing it must have been like a timing strap I went over. The drivers that you use for HardwareBot have to validate on the 3D Mark website. Is this the Zombie GPU? Yes. You know, I was tempted to just go straight to like 1.8 on the memory voltage. Also, I think the Maxwell memory controller like needs a retrain if you raise the voltage too much, so we might just restart the system and reload the settings. Huh. It was really not gaining very much. And that was at like 2100 on the memory. I'm gonna try a smidge more core voltage to see if that, like, changes anything. The one thing I didn't mod was the PLL rail. I don't think that's really necessary, though. Well, that made the stability worse. Okay, so that is something. Maybe add some Vdroop to it? And then... Wait, why are those things flashing red? And I'm thinking, like, maybe try lower the core clock a smidge. The funny thing is, like, I'm pretty sure I've seen this card spit out over 14,000 points, but I think it might have actually, like, crashed partway through one of the tests. So that might be why it did that. I wasn't really paying attention to it very much. What am I studying right now? Nothing. I do YouTube full time. I don't want to reset the statistics. What would be better for overclocking, LGA 1700 or 8700G? Depends on what you want to do in terms of overclocking. If you actually need CPU performance, the 14900K is way better than an 8700G. But if you're just, like, gonna be running, like, memory... Like, if you just want to do memory overclocking, you're far more likely to get a good memory controller on an 8700G than on, like, any Intel CPU, I think. Like, you'd actually have to bin the Intel CPUs, whereas with the 8000 series APUs, I don't think that's too much of a necessity. Huh. So that also crashed. You know what? I'm gonna save a profile. And put it on 3. And I'm just gonna restart the system so that the memory controller retrains with the higher memory voltage. Alright, do I need a cold start for that? I might need a cold start. Your ambient right now? Probably like 20 degrees. Yeah. Or maybe, yeah, like 20 degrees Celsius. Oh wait, I'm also running without system info, which, like, affects the score. And for hardware bot, you need that turned on. I mean, the main reason I run without it is because it makes the benchmark take forever to start, because you have that, like, fucking scanning thing at the start, but... It does also have a slight impact on the score, so, like, you can't run without system info and then compare against results with system info. Have you ever used a chiller? Yeah, but it was like a custom build, not a not an off-the-shelf. Like, it was somebody built themselves a chiller and I bought it from them. And that thing is still back in the Czech Republic. Don't have the space to bring it over to here. Why the Czech Republic? Because I'm Czech. Is there a video about it? No. Yeah, because I got that, like, not long before I left for university, I think. So I didn't really get to use it at all, unfortunately. Okay, I think the Vdroop is not helping. Score didn't change that much though, so that's good since I turned system info back on. What's the oldest hardware you'd be interested in messing with? Like Phenom 2s and like 4000 series AMD GPUs. How would LN2 affect which RAM OC? The CPUs or the GPUs? Because the GPU gets, like, Maxwell gets weird on LN2 with the memory. Okay, I'm gonna bring the core clock back up. Like, we are underperforming, and I think I'm just gonna give it more memory voltage again. You know, I figured with a 20k ohm potentiometer, the adjustment range would be relatively gentle, but it really isn't. I even have a 4850 X2. Right now the VRAM's getting 1.82 volts, according to the not very well connected voltmeter. So I don't know how accurate that is. But something in the 1.8 volt range. And it crashed. Oh, it's running even hotter than, yeah, earlier. Okay, there's no way that would run, but like this maybe? That'll put us at like 2120, yeah. Oh, it's upside down. Yeah, it's upside down. Why not use a multimeter? Because multimeters are big and bulky and take up a lot of space. And I don't need, like, with the memory on this thing, like, if it's anything like the GTX 960 was, the memory scales to like 1.9 volts or higher, so we don't need precision. Or at least I don't think I need precision. I am seeing what looks like a lot of frame skipping right now on the oscilloscope. Right, like you're seeing those gaps there? Oh, the funny thing is, like, sometimes that actually leads to the benchmark over-reporting the frame rate. And it crashed again. I think I'm going to ditch the core clock and just do the memory. So we're going to start at 0, 0 again. Is the scope quad channel? Yeah, it is. And I did consider hooking up the memory voltage to the oscilloscope, but I didn't, like, more wires. And the memory, like, the memory power delivery really isn't that interesting to look at. There's not really much happening there. So the, like, kinda inaccurate, but vaguely in the right ballpark voltmeter is, like, more than enough for the memory voltage, in my opinion. Best stress test for memory and Infinity Fabric? I like White Cruncher, but a lot of people also like to use Prime 95 blend test, or large FFTs. It's interesting how much the power consumption changes from just, like, adjusting the clocks on this card. Especially the memory clock. So, like, the core clock changed that much. What did you study to know this much? I did a lot of, like, just reading data sheets and stuff on Google. Back when Google search wasn't completely useless. So basically, I'm self-taught, and the side effect of that is that there's, like, some pretty weird and significant gaps in my understanding of various things in electronics. Because it's like, if it didn't, like, this is even higher than any of the, like... This is the highest stock, in quotation marks, score that I've seen from this card. Right? Because previously with 0-0, the highest was like 12,385. I mean, this is basically the same, but, like, it's still interesting that it's, like, higher than any of the other 0-0 setups. Okay, let's try plus 600 on the memory. It's still frame skipping? It might be. The issue is, like, I'm not entirely certain that those are actually frame skips, or if it's just, like, the card doing card things. Because, like, these little gaps... Well, this is weird. They crash. Is there, like, a timing strap around 600-ish? Because that's what this feels like. I want to try this, but with lower core voltage, see what happens. Is the VRAM off? There's a 120mm fan doing, like, 2400 RPM, pointing straight at the board. The memory is gonna be fine. Yeah, I'm not sure these are frame skips or if it's just some kind of scheduling thing that we're seeing. Because the thing is, on, like, because, like, a full-blown frame skip would be, like, the entire, like, block of noise disappears instead of having these little weird gaps between them. So I'm not sure if those are frame skips or if that, like, that might just be, like, some kind, like, I don't know what it is, but that might actually supposed to be there. Because it's a bit too short to be a straight up, like, missing frame. If you have a full missing frame, like, it'll be an entire block of, like, noise that's gone. Yeah, but when I say, like, entire frame, I mean, like, from one, like, the whole noise pattern would have to go missing for an entire frame to go missing. Whereas we're getting, like, gaps in between the noise patterns, which I'm not sure is necessarily an issue. Okay, so that ran. Let's try 6, Let's try 620. We're gonna get, like, super chicken clock the card now. Because, like, I feel like there's a timing strap that it's, like, tripping over in this range. Because it doesn't make sense to me that, like, plus 600, like, because I went to, what, like, plus 700 and the score barely changed? There be ECC? Nah, this card's too old for ECC. Or, like, it's a consumer, like, it's for a consumer Nvidia card, it's too old. Because at the time you could get, like, quadros and stuff with ECC, but not this. Did you do anything with your digital potentiometer idea? Yeah, that didn't go anywhere. I gave up and decided to just use regular potentiometers. Mostly because of, like, having a way to conveniently connect things to the GPUs is annoying. Like, if you're not soldering it to the board, the connector becomes a massive annoyance. Let's try 630. And the score went down a bit. Well, I think this is too close to be... Wait. I think that's the same frequency. 265, 265. Yeah, so like 620 and 630 are the same thing. So there's like steps on the clock for the memory. Yeah, it's 265, and 630 is also 265. $279? Man, those are some weird steps. Yeah, because there's like a really small step between 273 and what was it, like 278? But there's like a huge step between 265 and 273. Oh, it's 279. Yeah, so there's like a really little step, and then there's like a really big one. Okay, 660. Another little step. And then we get a big step. That was 10 megahertz right there. Okay, 690. Little step. So is 700 going to be also a little step? Yes. Or, actually no, not that little. That's like a 6 megahertz step. Very little step for 710. Another small step at 720. Big step for 740. I wonder when it'll just outright crash on us. And go straight to plus 800. 2153. Well, you know what? Let's try actually run that. Have you ever had any issues with PSU limiting your OC performance other than the rated wattage? No, but I generally, like, use pretty high-end power supplies. Like, I've never really bought anything... Like, I never bought a power supply without checking that at least the 12-volt regulation was good. £200 or €200 for overclocking. I don't remember how fast a 20. Oh, wait. You can. I feel like you can get 2070s in that range if you're willing to go second hand. But I don't remember how fast a 1650 is. Actually, you can probably get a 5700 XT in that price range. And those are pretty overclockable. But that's if you're buying secondhand. If you're buying new, aren't you kind of screwed and forced to buy like a 3060 or something? Or even a 3050? Oh man, 1650s are so slow. So even like a 2060 would be like substantially faster. Well, that ran. Any stories of weird quirks that you found while overclocking? Yeah, like Fiji cards get progressively slower as you raise their core voltage because of like some kind of weird throttling thing that's happening with them. Then you'd really think the score would be a lot higher considering how much memory clock I'm running. Well, the nice thing about 20 series is you can't really get like a really bad PCB for them. I think the main concern with 2070s is getting a card that doesn't have the early production Micron chips. Actually, I guess the 2060 Super is also a potential good option, and that guarantees that, like, if you get a Super card, those were produced after the bad batch of Micron chips, so, like, you can't get one of those. I'm not sure how common it is that the Micron chips actually fail. It's just, like, it's a thing that if you have a 20 series card with 2018 production Micron, and if one of those memory chips fails and you try to replace it, all of them fail. So they're kind of like notorious in repair, where it's like, yeah, you get a card with 2018 Micron and you're buying all new memory chips for the entire thing because you'll have one fail and then you'll replace it and the one next to it fails, so you'll replace it, and then the next one fails, and so you replace it. And eventually you end up working your way all the way around the core, and it's like you could have just skipped to replacing every single chip on the card. But 2060 Supers completely avoid that, because... yeah. Man, this is so weird. You'd think the lower memory clock would be more stable, but it isn't. Oh, and the 2060 Super is like almost the same performance as a 2070. So if that's significantly cheaper, that's like also a good option. Yeah, I haven't checked what like 3060s go for though. But yeah, actually I'm pretty sure a 3060 compared to a 2060 is a pretty substantial upgrade, isn't it? If they're at the same price. Oh no, they're about the same. Man, I completely forgot how, and like, the low end of like modern GPUs is so bad. There's just like no progress. Like 2060, like I'm looking at the Tech Power Up review. Of like some bare minimum 3060 card, right? And 2060 Super, 2070, 3060. They're like the same thing. Except one of them has 12 gigs of memory. Now, what did the 2070 launch for? Oh, ridiculous prices. So like $600 for the Founders Edition. And then $500 for like the Basic Edition, which, if I remember correctly, basically didn't exist. 2060 Super was $400. And this 3060 here was basically like MSRP 330, so like it's like $70 cheaper than a 2070 while offering basically the same performance, man. Man, GPU pricing sucks. $3060 goes for around $190. I mean, if it's around the same price as the 2070, then there's no reason not to go for it instead. Right? Because it's just newer. I've never messed with any PCIe, like, clock settings for the sake of performance. I think the only thing those really affect is if you're pushing, like, really high BCLK or something. On a platform where the BCLK affects the PCIe. Huh, okay, so 750 crashed. What about 740? This is so weird. It kind of looks like there's, like, timing straps, but, like... And it would... Like, there has to be. But, like, I don't know... Like, I can't take apart an Nvidia BIOS and go, like, yes, here are the timing straps like I can with AMD GPUs. No, and we get the black screen thing again. Is it true on RTX 30 series shorting the shunts removes the power limits? Yep, it does. Just be careful not to short the shunts too much, because if you do, the card will, like, realize that the power readings are inaccurate and it won't boost. Like, if you put... So, like, what I usually do if I want to do a lazy shunt mod is I take a really thin wire and just solder that across the shunt. Because if the wire is really thin, it won't change the resistance too much, and you'll get, like, a, say, 50% reduction in power readings. But if you take, like, a, say, a copper plate, okay, and you put that across the shunt resistor, the shunt, like, the resistance will be way lower than it used to be, and the card will read 0 power in the operating system. When the GPU driver sees that the card is reporting 0 power consumption, the GPU driver won't let it boost. You can also, like, rewire the sensing circuitry to permanently measure a, like, fixed voltage drop, and then that, like, I have a few cards where I have, like, you just set up a voltage divider between 12 volts and ground, And it's a kind of a wacky voltage divider because it's like 30 ohms to 120 kilo ohms or something like that. Because you need like a really small drop from like 12 volts to like a little over 11. Or like just under, basically you want to drop from like 12 to just under 12. You feed that into the shunt monitoring chip instead of the shunt voltage. And then then the card can't, like, it won't go into safe mode where it won't boost. And it also can't read how much power it's pulling, so you don't have a power limit. Why does the 7800X3D overheat on the first boot in BIOS? What? Did you, like, not plug in your pump or something? Because I've never seen that. Man, I hate how Afterburner requires you to press enter on your values. Like, you can't just, like, punch something in and immediately go for the arrow key. As long as you don't, like run Furmark on that 3070 Ti, it'll be fine. Or at least it should be fine. If you run Furmark, it will be very not fine. I've put 300 watts through a 6-pin, and it's completely fine. So I wouldn't really be worried about the PCIe connectors too much, unless you're running, like, extended load at that kind of power draw. So, like, hours and hours instead of, like, minutes. If you're just benching, you basically, like... Kind of the funny thing is, if you're doing a lot of extreme overclocking, a lot of the, like, reliability concerns go out the window because you're not running anything for long enough for it to really be much of a concern. The MOBO one, what, the PCIe slot? Most GPUs don't pull any power from the PCIe slot, so you don't have to worry about it. What is this music? Like industrial noise metal stuff? I don't really know. Whoa, it's like really unstable. What did I punch in? 710, right? Yeah. It's still finished, though. Though I think GT2 is going to be a bigger test for the memory stability. GT1 is all about the core. GT2 is like weirdly stable. Man, Maxwell cards are so weird. They did pull full 75 watts from the slot. RX 480s overdraw the PCIe slot very slightly until like AMD patched it. Like referenced RX 480s. Most of the board partners didn't wire it up as badly as AMD did. AMD put literally half the V-Core VRM on the PCIe slot. Most custom RX 480 PCBs put like 2 phases out of the 6, not 3 of the 6 on the PCIe slot. 4090s basically don't use the PCIe slot at all. So on a 4090, I really like the shunt for the PCIe slot on a 4090. I would not concern myself with it basically at all. As in, like, I wouldn't be worried about, like, messing with that shunt because the card basically doesn't use it. I think most 40 series cards from Nvidia are like that. You have to... It depends on the card if you have to jump all of them. Like, some cards are really weird about how their power distribution is set up, and then you need to short the PCIe slot shunt, but other cards are, like, more sensible about it, and then you don't have to. This is the highest... I think this is the highest score for just a memory overclock, isn't it? Did it crash? I think it crashed. Man, this thing is so weird. I feel like every Maxwell GPU that I've ever used, it's like completely different. Like, there is absolutely no fucking, like, no consistency between them. Because, like, I've messed with a 980 Ti Lightning. A 960. This thing. I don't have, like, a ton of Maxwell experience. But, like, yeah, I've messed with a few Maxwell cards. And like, every single one of them seems to be just, like, a completely different everything. And again, the V-Core VRM on this did explode, so... Or, well, no, this one didn't explode. This one died. It didn't put a crater in the PCB, unlike some of the other 970s I have. There was one thing I want to try messing with is the switching frequency for the VRM, because we haven't messed with that, and that could help, because I don't exactly have the most capacitance on here. The way I want to do that is like this. And then mainly look at the oscilloscope for figuring out if that helps. Did I actually do anything? I need to check with the multimeter. Okay, yeah, that did work. I think I'll set it to like a little over 400. Let's try 451. VRM temperature is 55 degrees, so cooler than the GPU core right now. I think we're gonna try that like 620 plus 146 on the core. Oh wait, we're on the custom run. I want to do a full run. I think that'll count as a pass. Yeah, crashing like that right before the end, the test won't necessarily count that as a crash. Still not as wacky as, like, I have a GTX 770 that would, like, not render half of the GT2 and score insanely high. Fortunately, GT2 did crash. What was the max temperature? It didn't even get that hot when it crashed. Also, I recently realized that actually the Asus GTX 970 Strix has basically this VRM minus 2 phases. Which is, like, a lot better than most 970s. So I'm like, now I'm kind of wondering, like, how does this abomination compare to, like, the Asus way of doing this? They even use the same VRM controller. Yeah, so it's, like, basically this VRM minus 2 phases, because it's a 6-phase instead of the 8 that the 780 Ti had. But it's still way better than what you get on most 970s, because most 970s are, like, a garbage 4-phase. Or, like, if they're a 6-phase, then it's only, like, one high side, one low side. Whereas Asus is doing, like, one high side, two low sides. So... yeah. I've been wondering, like, how does that compare? Because, like, that shouldn't really have too many issues actually powering the 970. Possibly even if you're on cold, like, you might actually need a VRM heatsink. But yeah, I don't think it should have too many issues with running the card hard. Though the memory VRM is a single phase, which I am not a fan of. Now we're getting artifacting. Interesting. The uplift in Firestrike physics from a 5950X to a 7950X is really sad. It's not that much faster. Why DDR5 6200 CL26 and not CL28 with lower voltage? Because what difference would it make? Like, I have a fan on the memory sticks anyway, so like, It's not like the memory sticks are gonna die. Yeah, like this is really not much faster than a 5950X, which is probably because the 7950X has, like, similar memory performance to a 5950X. Because the Infinity Fabric is so frickin' slow. Because it doesn't make any sense otherwise. Like, why, like, how can, because it's clocked higher. Quite substantially. And yet the score really isn't, like, it's like 10% maybe better than a 5950X. 14900K can go easily over 50,000 points, or even you can get like 60,000 points. But I don't like using the 14900K, so 7950X it is. So actually, I wanted to... So, the thing is, this is an international rectifier VRM controller, and a lot of those actually perform better at, like, very low switching frequencies, so raising the switching frequency might have actually made things worse. I'm going to drop it all the way down to 272, which I think is actually the stock switching frequency for this VRM. Wait, did that just change the core voltage? Oh yeah, that just straight up changes the voltage. Okay, well, we'll try that. Okay, we'll try 445, but with the core voltage raised back up, because, like, that's not supposed to happen. If 28 is getting you errors, I'd probably go to, like, 36 next. Yeah, I'd probably try 36. Like, TRAS isn't really that important to performance, so raising it by 8 is, like, a good, I think... Like, chances are it's really unstable. Like, chances are, like, you probably need to raise it a lot, rather than a little. Yeah, I'm changing the vCore VRM switching frequency. I don't have switching frequency control for the memory. What? No, it's not supposed to change the voltage. You should, like, the VRM switching frequency should not change the PWM signal amplitude. I mean, width, not amplitude. Like, it's not supposed to change the voltage. It's supposed to change the transient response, but not the voltage. So that is still very weird. So not a bad score. Like, I want to get over 14K graphics, and then I'm going to turn LOD on. Or in other words, turn the textures off. Why what? Turn the textures off? Because for hardware bot scores, that's like a tweak that you need to do if you want a good score, because everybody does it. And for TimeSpy, I would have to disable the SMT. Also, TimeSpy on this card clocks very differently from Firestrike. Like, way lower max memory clock. And that crashed. Okay, well, I want to try that again, but with the back down to like 270 kilohertz switching frequency. What do the gamer voltage? It's just the voltage setting. It's like an extra, like there's a, I'm not sure on the specifics, it's just down to how this voltage controller works, is there's a bunch of like gamer settings for overclocking. Like that's literally what it's called. If you look up the datasheet for the CHL8318, it has like one of its core features is having gamer mode, which basically gives a bunch of extra functionality on top of the like whatever voltage regulator spec that controller is primarily based around. Because like Intel, Nvidia, and AMD, they have their own like voltage regulator specs that the voltage controllers get designed to, and then if you want extra functionality on top of that, well, that's not part of the spec, so it needs to be a separate thing, and Chill decided to call it gamer mode for their controllers. So that's like a thing that you get on a bunch of different Chill voltage controllers, is gamer mode. A 1.6 to get CL14. If it's Samsung B-Die, it shouldn't hurt it. If it's like a Hynix memory chip, it might be bad. Like if it's like Hynix CJR, that might not be the best for the health of the memory sticks. Um, 16A is still clock for clock faster than H24M, but with 24M, it's much easier to do 8000, so if you have a gene, I'd probably go with H24M. And if you don't have a gene, so you're not going to be running 8000, I would go with H16A. Oh, X670 Hero? Yeah, then just get Hynix A die. $16 gigabit A die, because there is, as far as I know, there's already a 24 gigabit A die as well. But it's basically the same as 24 gigabit M die. You know, it does seem like it's less stable with this lower switching frequency. And I don't like how, like, weird this card behaves. I really feel like I need to test, like, some other, like, not Zombie GTX 970s, or at least other, like, I'm not even sure that, like, comparing 980 Ti's are probably not relevant to the behavior of 970s, but 980s should be pretty close. And I do have a 980. But it's a Zotac 980. And I don't remember what voltage controller is on it. Also not stable. And didn't get that hot this time. Like, it only maxed out at 72. Is the card bent? No, the camera's at an angle. And I think there's some lens distortion going on as well, because if it is bent, it's not bent in that direction. No, it's on an air cooler. A Thermalright, what is it? Shaman, I think was the name for it. And it works really well if you don't run that air cooler upside down. But I'm running it upside down because the VRM is like way too close to the actual GPU core. Which really sucks, because like I don't think there's any way I'm not getting a regular LN2 pot on, like a GPU LN2 pot on this thing. Which is really annoying. Okay, I kind of want to reset the VRM at this point, because I feel like I did something and messed it up. Because it ran better at the, like, earlier. Oh, I should have just shut it down, because I think, yeah, the voltage controller probably needs, like, a cold start. Wait, was I running the core voltage way too high? Oh yeah, I think I was running it way high. We're gonna try like a flat out run. I guess we're not, because it just crashed. I'll try slightly less memory voltage. You know, I did consider disabling the memory idle state, but I'm not sure if that actually would achieve anything. Because that's why it's reading 1.66 right now, because the card, like, has, like, a... Like, on stock, it runs 1.55 for 3D and 1.35 for idle. Actually, I'm pretty sure I never did anything with the Nvidia drivers on this. Okay, so it really doesn't like the high memory clock. And that voltmeter... I'm grabbing the multimeter to check. It's like way off. It's like 20 millivolts low. Wait, no, that's suspicious. Like, the oscilloscope is 20 millivolts low. Well, no, the oscilloscope being 20 millivolts off would make sense. But, like, the little voltmeter is 20 millivolts off. And I haven't, like, the batteries in my multimeter are kind of low. So maybe my multimeter's reading high. Though, it shouldn't do that. Like, it's a pretty, like, high-end multimeter, so, like... Anyway, I should replace the batteries on it soon. I actually bought replacement batteries, because it's... Like, it's been on that last bar of charge for, like, ages and ages and ages, and it's like, yeah, but it's still not dead. Anyway, we're at 1.86 volts, according to the good multimeter on the memory. You know what, I'll try touch nothing, see what happens. Will plus 147 give me... Yay! It gives me 1337. Well, that ran. Hey, finally over 14,000 on the GPU score. I don't even know why it's over 14,000 now. Honestly, it's like, so how did you get this score? I don't know. I fucking ran some numbers that I ran earlier and like, bam, score good. Why? I don't know. Cursed Nvidia things. I'm not even sure that actually does anything. Oh, tech power up apparently. No, they did have a 780 Ti. Okay, why is this so weirdly zoomed in? Okay, there we go. Yeah, I guess a little bit faster. I think that's just random variance run to run. I should have, yeah, I have an Nvidia profile inspector, so we can do LOD. Which I think requires we restart 3D Mark. So, where was it? No. I'm not looking at the right thing. Oh yeah, replay mode, all. All, and then... Wait, was it 27 or was it 13? I think it was 27. Favorite CPU of all time? Probably the 3930K. Because, like, 6-core Sandy Bridge E has, like, huge overclocking headroom. It was ridiculously fast at the time. Like, it was 50% faster than, like, the second fastest CPU you could get, at least in multi-core loads, because, you know, the second fastest CPU was a 2600K, which was a quad-core. So... yeah, and since then... like, I also really like the 8700K. And 7700K wasn't really that fast. 10900K is cool. Yeah, and then, like, before the 3930K, I actually don't know, because that's, like, too old. And, like, the 5960X was cool, but it was, like, ludicrously expensive, and the memory controller is obnoxious. So... I can't really put that up as, like, a favorite. Man, why are my scores so bad? Right? Like... what's this? It's a 9900K, so yeah, I'm just getting like, yeah, how... oh, he's running more core clock than I am. Yeah, but that's not like 500 points more core clock. Actually, that's more like, yeah, that's like 550 more points. And it's like slightly more memory clock, slightly more core. I don't get it. Okay, this is also higher core clock than me. I know it, like, says up here 1513, but, like, I don't believe that when GPU-Z is saying 1374 and mine is, like, 1337. This is worse memory clock, similar core clock to me, probably. MSI card. Obviously an Intel CPU, but... I don't think that should matter here. Another MSI? Wait, is there like, could there be like a BIOS difference between them? Gigabyte? I mean, it's not an EVGA is the main thing I'm noticing. The very top scores we've got Nvidia. Oh, right, because there were Nvidia like reference 970s. Were there? Nvidia BIOS. Zotac BIOS. Nvidia BIOS. Wait, does mine say Nvidia or what does it say? EVGA. It does say EVGA. Okay. I'm gonna now discover that not only did EVGA botch the VRM on this, they botched the BIOS as well. That would be very fun. Nvidia BIOS, Elpida memory, out for like beating me on performance. That's amazing. Another Nvidia BIOS. Oh, this is a Hall of Fame card. Speaking of Hall of Fame cards, there's a GTX 980 Hall of Fame on eBay, and it's like, should I? They're actually the 980 Hall of Fame cards don't seem to be that rare in the UK, because there's currently 2 of them on eBay, so maybe I just shouldn't. Because it's not like I have a shortage of other GPUs to mess with. I mean, I guess part of it might also be that the EVGA cards have, like, notoriously garbage power delivery, so, like, nobody's gonna run them. Oh, sub-vendor Nvidia again. Asus. Okay, so people run everything except EVGA apparently, which I guess makes sense when the EVGA cards like to blow up, but like... I wonder if it really is like a BIOS thing that's doing it. Favorite GPU? Well, it's definitely some kind of AMD card. I guess 290X. The thing with the 290Xs that I don't like about them is that they don't clock that high, but then, like, if I compare it to, say, like, Pitcairn, where the core clocks insanely high, a lot of the time Pitcairn cards with, like, the memory doesn't clock that well. Usually because they come with, like, a lot of them come with Elpida. So... Then again, you can get a lot of 290Xs with Elpida. So, yeah, it's kind of hard. But all of those cards are, like, very, like, 290X... 7970, 7950, 7870, 7850. They all behave very similarly, and it's just like, as you go down the stack, the clocks on the core get higher, basically. Because the smaller cores on those, for the GCN1, like the early GCN cards, like, they just clock insanely high. Like, 7870s easily go over 1300 core. Easily. You can even do, like, 1400 on air cooling. The thing is, the dual core cards are kind of wacky. Like, they're really cool from, like, a design perspective, but as, like, fun, not really. And I don't like limited editions. Because, like, I collect GPUs, but I don't collect them because they are rare. I collect them because they have a cool or interesting PCB. Right? And so, like... The rareness just makes collecting them harder, so I don't like it, but it's like, oh yeah, this is a 1,000 unit limited run, and it's like, great, so that means if I ever want to get one of these, it's going to be massive pain. Another Hall of Fame. Like, everybody's getting better GPU scores than I am. How? This is with a 12600K. I mean, we haven't seen any Ryzen systems here. $13600K. This is a cool looking PCB. The VRM though isn't actually that good. Yeah, the MOSFETs are pretty not great. Still better than the like EVGA VRM that likes to explode. Like, it's not bad. Like, out of the VRMs you can get on a 970, really not that bad. But, like, the PCB looks a lot more impressive than it really is, because it is an 8-phase, but it just uses, like, 35 amp DRMOS components. Which, yeah, not really that, you know. Like, I think this is actually probably more powerful than the VRM on this. Oh wait, this was done with a 3800X. Oh, and his GPU score is... Oh, no, his GPU score is better, his clocks are worse. I am bad at Nvidia. I am very bad at Nvidia. How? How do people get bigger scores than me? What am I doing wrong? Okay, we'll try LOD 13. Oh, also the other thing I wanted to show is like, so here's the 780 Ti VRM, right? This is what I'm using on this 970. And here's the Asus 970. Right? So, and the thing is, like, these top two phases over here, that's memory power. Wait, they slimmed the inductors down. Oh, well, I mean, swapping inductors is less of a pain than swapping the entire VRM, so... It's not that big a deal. But yeah, basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 phase, right? And ASP1212, ASP1212. Oh, this seems to be using 3598s for the drivers, whereas... No, this is also 3598s. Also, I think it just crashed. Yeah, it just crashed. Stupid card. So, like, the Asus 970 would be, like, an interesting comparison point against, like, the abomination I've created here. It's like, how much worse is my power delivery compared to, like, Asus factory power delivery? I think it might actually not be that bad. I might be giving myself too much credit. At least the 970 Strix is probably way cheaper than getting like a 970 Hall of Fame. Yep, well, actually not that much cheaper. But they are very common, so, like, no rush. In other news, I've repaired another 980 Ti. I tried recording the video of the repair process, but things went very, like, initially I was like, oh, I just need to replace a dead power stage. So I replaced a dead power stage. And then the card doesn't put out an image. Or no, the card puts out black. Right? No image. It puts out black. And then I tried to run a memory test, because it's like, well, that's weird. Why is it not, like, it's not, like, starting, and it's causing, like, the motherboard is taking forever to get through GPU initialization, and it's just, like, it's being a real pain, and I'm like, is the memory bad? But, like, GPUs with dead memory, like, still don't behave like that. I can't get the memory test to run. So it's like, and I blindly, like, so my next best guess was like, oh, I guess somebody tried to fix this card by flashing the BIOS on it, because for some insane reason, that seems to be a thing that, like, people take a broken GPU, and their immediate reaction is like, I need to flash the BIOS, that's gonna fix the broken whatever. So I stole the BIOS chip of a dead 980 Ti MSI card, and I put that onto the EVGA 980 Ti, and bam, picture. But now artifacting, because one of the memory chips dead. And then I stole the memory chip off of a dead 970 PCB, and card now works. Though I haven't checked if it, like, how much it works, but, like, it does the basic level of, like, it'll run a memory test. Oh, I wanted to do plus 275. But I think that's the other one that's, like, potentially optimal. Like, I find it really funny that the only time I've ever had to deal with, like, BIOSes on also, I don't have a hardware BIOS flasher dongle. Just, like, weird fact about my, like, repair sensibilities is, like, look, if there's something wrong with the BIOS, I am pulling a BIOS off of a different dead GPU before I learn how to flash the BIOS, like, in hardware. Actually, I think the Elmore EVC2 might be able to do a BIOS flash. Like, the thing is, like, so far, every time I've had a GPU where there's, like, something wrong with the BIOS, I've just taken the BIOS off of a different GPU. I've never seen a BIOS, like, fail on its own for no reason. So my thought process is that all the broken BIOS, like, the 2 cards I've ever had with a broken BIOS are directly the result of the previous owner, not the BIOS chip breaking itself, because that doesn't happen. Things that die. Power delivery and memory chips. Or, like, the BGA for the memory chips. And the VGA for the core as well. Things that don't die. Capacitors don't die. BIOS chips don't die. Actually, that's not true. You can actually, like, break multi-layer ceramic capacitors, and if you crack them, then, like... But, like... Well, the polymer capacitors don't die, unless you install them backwards. Those, I'm actually... Or you cook them. But, like, they don't die on their own. So, yeah. Like, inductor... Actually, no. Nvidia managed to screw up the sizing of the memory VRM inductors on 980 Ti's, so there's like... It's not as common as the V-Core VRM dying, but you can get 980 Ti's where the memory inductor's like burnt up and sent 12 volts to the memory, and then the whole GPU is dead because it like kills the memory chips, kills the core, kills everything. So, well, I guess it doesn't kill the VRM component, like the V-Core VRM component, so you can still use those, I guess. So yeah, I have another repaired reference 980 Ti. Now I have so many repaired 980 Ti's that I'm honestly kind of tempted to blow one of them up for science. Right, like intention, because I've always wondered, like, what does it look like when the V-Core VRM dies on the output side? Like, do you get a big voltage spike right as the MOSFETs just finally give up? Well, that didn't do anything. So I am actually legitimately very bad at Nvidia GPU benching. Or there's like something about the BIOS on this card. Like maybe like a different BIOS on this card would help. I don't have enough experience. Like the thing is with AMD GPUs though, that's not a thing in my experience. But like flashing the BIOS just like should be relatively risk-free. Though the thing isn't the Nvidia BIOS flashing. It's not that much of a hassle, is it? The thing is for AMD, like, it's really, like, convenient, whereas for Nvidia, like, I do it so rarely that, like, off the top of my head, like, I'd have to look up how to do it. That's how frequently I flash the BIOS on Nvidia GPUs, that I have to look it up every time I try to do it, because I don't remember how to do it. I think I might... Man, now I really wish I had, like, a good 970... Like, a known good 970, at least from, like, a hardware perspective, instead of, like, this abomination. It's kind of an issue with the reference 980 Ti's that I have, is, like, every single reference 980 Ti PCB I own is a reference 980 Ti PCB that suffered a V-Core VRM failure. So it's like, I have no idea how, like, a factory condition 980 Ti V-Core VRM is supposed to, like, look on the oscilloscope. Because all the ones I've measured had a MOSFET die, and all of them look really bad. Actually, I haven't checked the last two that I fixed. They might not be as bad as the EVGA card. The EVGA card was atrocious. I installed, like, an entire GTX 690 worth of capacitors on there by stealing them from a dead GTX 690. Also, that 690 was really quite, like, sad, because it was, like, very, very dead. Like, the PEX rail died. Also, this thing keeps crashing. Man, I'm kind of tired of this. So I kind of want to end the stream here, and then, like, I don't know. Like, maybe I should, like, do some Nvidia 900 series benching on a card that isn't this. Not gonna go buy another one. Like, grab something like that, because like, I have that 980 that I haven't done anything with. So, yeah, like try run the 980 that I have, Zotac 980. See how that does. 1 to 1080 Ti Hall of Fame. Yes, but not really looking to buy one right now. But it is a card that, like, I want to have one someday. Just not really in a hurry to get one. So yeah, I guess the thing is, I also have like somebody very kindly sent me a 780 Ti Matrix, so I want to test that. This is one of the issues with me and like doing, well, anything these days is like partially my fault because I bought myself so much hardware that it's like I don't know what to do next, and partially external factors because, like, you know, motherboards get released, CPUs get released, well, I don't really, unfortunately, as much as I love GPUs, I really don't get many opportunities to actually play with modern ones, annoyingly enough. But yeah, but occasionally somebody will send me, like, a bunch of their old GPUs, and then it's like, well... and then, like, there's also me going on eBay, and it's like, yeah, but this dead GPU was 15 quid, like, I couldn't say no to that. It's like, yes, you could. Which is how I've ended up with another 980 Ti, so... yeah. I do want to figure out how to run this card, but, like, I'm not... maybe not on stream. Like, the good news is it seems to run pretty good. As in, like, run at all. In terms of scores, I don't know what's going on, but then again, like, I'm not sure even if I had a working 970, I'd be able to get much better scores. So, like... yeah, I think I'll just run the GTX 980 that I have. And, like, figure out how to run that. And then revisit this thing. Or maybe figure out how to run one of the 980 Ti's, because, like, I have a lot of those. So... yeah. Anyway, that's it for the stream. Hopefully it was somewhat interesting. And, thanks for watching, and goodbye.